I'm Chris Thompson, and today I'm talking about Bitcoin hitting an all-time high of $111,800 on May 22nd, otherwise known as Bitcoin Pizza Day. Let's get into it. On May 22nd, Bitcoin hit an all-time high of $111,800, rallying off a low of $74,000, which represents a 47% increase off its lows. Why is Bitcoin rallying, you might ask? Well, investors have been making a flight to safety, and Bitcoin is viewed as the digital equivalent of gold. Typically, when investors are uncertain about market directions, they do a flight to safety, and they usually buy gold, which is a physical store of value. Now, in the current age of cryptocurrency, investors are flocking to Bitcoin as the digital equivalent of gold. Bitcoin has been rallying as investors make a flight to safety as the U.S. national debt soars to all-time high. The current administration is trying to pass what President Donald Trump calls a big, beautiful bill, which would add $3.6 trillion to the national debt, which is already at $36 trillion. That's a crazy number. I mean, say it out loud. $36 trillion. It sounds made up, right? But it's not. The national debt crisis should be a real concern for all American citizens. The U.S. government accrues approximately $3 billion in interest on the national debt every single day. That's approximately $1.095 trillion every year that we're gaining in interest on the national debt, which is already at $36 trillion. If the U.S. government doesn't borrow another penny, which, let's face it, is not likely to happen, we would be adding $1 trillion just in interest accrued every single year. So right now, with a national debt of $36 trillion, add to that, in 2026, we would have $37 trillion. See, simple math. But the U.S. national debt isn't really what I came here to talk about today. Let's talk more about Bitcoin. In case you've been living under a rock, Bitcoin refers to a decentralized cryptocurrency, otherwise known as digital money. The key word there is decentralized, meaning no central bank or government or individual or entity owns Bitcoin. Bitcoin is mined when powerful computers solve mathematical puzzles, and they're rewarded with 3.2 Bitcoins as of 2025. Approximately every 4 years, the number of Bitcoin that are rewarded for solving these strong mathematical puzzles is halved, called the Bitcoin halving. Currently, a Bitcoin miner would receive around 3.2 Bitcoins for solving an equation. The next Bitcoin halving is scheduled to occur in 2028, when miners will receive 1.62 Bitcoins for solving the same equations that they're solving today when they receive 3.2 Bitcoin. So who created Bitcoin? Well, that's a good question, and there's actually really not a good answer. The common belief is that Bitcoin was originally created by Satoshi Nakamoto, who may or may not be a person, or a legal entity, or a group of people even. Over the years, a number of people have claimed to be Satoshi Nakamoto, but when you actually ask them, they aren't able to provide the actual keys to open up the early wallets that Bitcoin was stored in when it was initially mined by Satoshi Nakamoto. Satoshi Nakamoto is estimated to own 1.1 million Bitcoins. So let's do a little bit of math. Last week, one Bitcoin was trading for $108,000. I'm not going to get into specifics. Yes, I'm rounding there. But if you take $108,000 per Bitcoin, multiplied by the 1.1 million Bitcoins that he's estimated to have, and you multiply that by $108,000 per Bitcoin, you come out to roughly $119 billion, placing Satoshi Nakamoto as the 15th richest person in the world. That's pretty crazy. Okay, now that we've level set, let's get back to the topic of Bitcoin's all-time high. Since May 22nd, Bitcoin has retreated from its all-time high. Bitcoin is currently trading around $105,000 as of June 3rd. I think if we could get some regulatory clarity around cryptocurrency, and if the current administration could stop tariffing countries every other week, then I really think that Bitcoin could continue its climb. By the end of 2025, I honestly believe that we could see a Bitcoin price of $250,000. By some estimates, some people believe that Bitcoin could grow to $1 million per Bitcoin by the end of the decade. When I hear these kind of estimates, I like to think that Satoshi Nakamoto has a big smile on his face, wherever they are. Thanks for listening to my hot take about Bitcoin hitting an all-time high of $111,800 a few weeks ago. If you haven't already, smash that like button and consider subscribing to my channel so you can be notified next time I drop a video. Thanks.